Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Sunny. Welcome back to another episode of my podcast, Sunny's Geeky Grove. This is episode 16, and today we are going to be talking about Telltale Games game, The Walking Dead Season 1. So this game came out in 2012, so it's a little bit old. And it's now currently available on so many platforms. I'm just going to spout them off. Android, iOS, Kindle Fire HDX, Microsoft Windows, Mac OS X, Linux, PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita, Xbox 360, PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch. Yeah, it's available on everything. I'm sure it can even be played on a Samsung fridge. Let's be real here. So, this game is an episodic adventure game, and it's basically like a mini movie. And before we get into it further, if you are new here, welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy your stay. This is going to be kind of an odd episode for you to have found me on, especially since how old this game is. I highly doubt people are searching for it, but if you want to be, you can subscribe and ring that bell to get notified, push notifications on your phone and email. If you end up liking this, make sure to leave a thumbs up. If you disliked it, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disappoint. Leave a thumbs up and tell me why you disliked it. Yeah, just leave a thumbs up. Anyway, let's jump into the game. So, it consists of 5 episodes, and each one basically takes about an hour and a half to complete. And it's pretty easy to get every achievement because they are part of the story. So when you are playing this game on the Xbox and PlayStation, you will 100% it, which is fun. It was not my first 100% game. That goes to Lego Batman, and then Fallout 3, and then Uno. But I did 100% it, which is great. And now I'm doing it again on the Xbox One, which is what you're seeing the gameplay footage from right now on screen. And let's just kind of dive into some of the yikes about it. Let's start off with the bad and then end with the good. So this game is based off of the comic book series The Walking Dead. And I mean, it's one of those games, it's the first Telltale Games game, if I remember correctly, that they released, and it is very slow. Lee is the protagonist. He walks so slowly. The camera is extremely wonky, and you have to move the right stick as well in order to actually, interact with things, which is fine, but it's so boring. If you've played through the game once, it drags the second time around because it's not very actiony. The gameplay footage that you're seeing on screen right now is from the second episode, where I have already made some choices, already interacted with characters and things like that. So there will be some dialogue options that end up pertaining to things that took place in episode 1. It is a game that remembers interactions you have, things you did and didn't do, which is cool, but it is so boring. It lags. It's slow-paced, and that's not bad when you're trying to tell a really good story, and the story is so good. The characters are great. It's just, there's not a lot of player interaction. It's more sitting and watching a movie, and then there's a cutscene where you do something. That's about it. The story is fairly unique. You have, as far as from the comics and the TV show, which, if you didn't know that there's a AMC TV show also called The Walking Dead, yikes. Glenn is in this for a little bit. He's a pizza delivery driver, and I believe he is at the very end of episode 1. You meet him at the Motor Inn. Yeah. But Lee is our protagonist of this game, and he is a former inmate at the jail in Georgia, and he comes across this girl in trouble, Clem, who is an angel. I love Clementine. She is amazing, wholesome, pure, just she is my favorite thing about this game. Her relationship with Lee, that very father-daughter relationship, is great. So those few things that I mentioned that were negatives, that were yikes, that's it. Just that wonky camera and how it just drags. And boy, does it ever drag. Anyway, let's shift into the positive, which is what I'm all about. I like to be positive, but I also need to be honest. So, like I've already mentioned, the characterization, the character development, the story, all grade A, great stuff right there. You have that connection with Lee and Clementine, and seeing how their relationship progresses and how she grows to trust him and how he basically prepares her for the world. It's so wonderful. It's so great. And there are a lot of emotional pulls between those two characters. It really is something that is wonderful to see played out on screen, because you don't necessarily always get that in your video games. I feel like at the time that this was released, you didn't always get that. It has been 7 years, and we have seen a lot of games that have used this type of characterization and plot device. The Last of Us is the most recent game that I can think of that really did play with that dynamic. Joel and Ellie really had a great father-daughter type relationship that progressed throughout the game. And that's kind of what we see here with Lee and Clem. They really do bond, and you grow close to these two characters. Even though you're playing as Lee, you get to see how he adapts and changes with Clem and how she changes as well. There's also the choice mechanism in this game, the mechanic. It is really great. It's one of those that I feel like a lot of games have since incorporated, where some use it in a way that's effective and efficient, and some just say that they remember, but it doesn't really matter. And this game, I feel, is the founder of that, the forefather of the decision-based consequences. And while that might not be true, it really is incorporated well into the story. You have different interactions based on, did you go to save Herschel's son or Kenny's son? And Kenny is your partner the whole time. So if you go to save Herschel's son instead of Duck, yikes, Kenny's going to be angry at you. You're going to have to smooth things over. Which is why I always go for Duck. Because no matter what, spoiler alert, Herschel's son dies. Yikes. And I want to keep Kenny on my good side, because he's my broski. Wow, never saying that again. Ultimately, this game is just... It's got a very good story. It's a typical Telltale game, video game. It's slow-paced. It's basically an interactive comic book, an interactive movie where you're making a few choices here and there, saying a few lines here and there, and that's it. It's low-key. It does have some action scenes where you're like, oh, wasn't expecting that jump scare, such as when the other boy comes back from the dead and we have to fight him off. But those are very few and far between. They are great when they happen, though. It's refreshing because you're so lulled into complacency and just pointing and clicking, pressing A, B, choosing a conversation, and then bam, all of a sudden you've got a jump scare that, actually wakes you up and puts you at the edge of your seat, and you're like, oh shoot, I'm actually doing something today. Oh my gosh. So that is something that is good. They needed more of it. Season 2 was a little bit better. It had more choices, in my opinion, and it had a strong story, and I enjoyed the protagonist of that. However, I think the most emotional impact I had was while playing this game. There were scenes that actually, got me misty-eyed or brought a tear to my eye or made me very scared and frightened. So it was something that was written very well and conveyed the emotions that they intended to convey. There's not much else to say. I mean, if you like zombies, you're going to like the game. If you're okay with it not being very fast-paced, very point and click, not a lot of action, not a lot of player-driven scenes. Some, but they, again, are few and far between. It is something that really just drives home the story, which is great. Those types of games are fine, but they don't have longevity and a lot of replayability because you can't, skip a cutscene. During the beginning, I was sitting here, I hadn't played in years, and I was sitting here just trying to figure out if there was a way to skip the cutscene. There wasn't. There was no way to skip it. And it was disappointing because, oh boy, I remember. And I also remember that I want to get to the good stuff of divvying out the food. Let's get to it. But instead, I had to sit and I had to watch again. Oh, wow. Maybe I actually don't really like this game. I like it. The story is great. It has great emotional pull, but boy, is it even a game? Is it a game at this point? I mean, wow. It's not really. Yikes, this took a turn. Like I said, it is available on every platform. I'm sure it ranges from $3 an episode to probably $15 for the entire 5 episodes. 3 times 5 is 15. That's probably not how much it costs then. It's been remastered for the Xbox One and the PS4. Obviously, I already said that. And again, it came out in 2012, so 7 years ago. I mean, at this point, there's not much else to say. You can see I am going to actually speed up the gameplay footage because, yikes, it's a mess. It's so slow. And I don't want to bore you with those visuals. So let's go ahead and wrap up this podcast because I'm just repeating myself. And I know you like hearing me ramble. I know it. That's why you're here. That is why you're here. And if you're new here and you're digging this, hit subscribe. If you're new here and you're not digging this, check out my other videos because this is different. This is a different podcast episode. A different type of game, a different type of Sunny ramble. And leave me a comment down below if you ever played these games. If you played any of the others, like the Game of Thrones ones, the Borderlands sequel, I believe is a Telltale game, The Wolf Among Us, any of the other ones. What did you think? Which was your favorite? Do you like these types of games? Are they relaxing for you? Do they aggravate you without being able to skip the cutscenes? Do you think that this is better than the show? Yes, especially these seasons. I haven't even seen the most recent season by Rick. I don't know if he's actually gone or if he came back. Anyway, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the mess of this podcast. or the mess of the game or anything. I know Telltale Games is actually gone. They have gone under, so maybe these games aren't available anymore. It actually is still available on the PSN Marketplace and the Xbox Marketplace, so you can buy it, even though Telltale Games is no more. So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to episode 16 of Sunny's Geeky Grove. I hope you enjoyed your time with me today. My name is Sunny. You've been awesome, and I hope you have a good one. Bye.